We're going to do a motion problem. This is one that involves an airplane where there's air speed without wind, and then there's the wind speed. It's very much like the speed in still water versus the speed of current. In our problem, two friends take a plane trip. They're traveling 480 miles, and at first they're going with a 20 mile per hour tailwind. They're going faster because of the tailwind. Then they return to the starting point. This time they're flying against the wind, which will be slower. The entire trip took 10 hours. What was the plane's airspeed? To do a problem like this, I like to set it up with the table. I'm going to use the formula that distance is rate times time. I'm going to set up a table to look like this. I have rate and time. Rate times time equals distance. And I'm going to put in entries in this table. The first will be with the wind, and the second will be against the wind. So with and against meaning with the wind and against being against the wind. In order to have the rate with the wind, I need the rate in still air, or the airspeed, plus the tailwind. So I need, in order to have that rate, I need both. I need the rate of the plane's airspeed, or the airspeed, which I don't know, and I'm going to call that x, and I need the rate of the wind, the tailwind. And we were given that that rate is 20 miles per hour. The rate with the wind, I'm going faster, so that rate is x plus 20. But the rate against the wind is going to be, I start with x, but then the wind is taking off 20, so that is x minus 20. I know the distance each way, so I know I'm going 480 miles. The formula is distance equals rate times time. Once you've gotten two entries in the table, you have to get the third column, and you can see that's the time column. So I can get time by dividing both sides by r. If I divide by r, I get time is distance over r. That's what I'll be using to fill in the time column. So the time when you're going with the wind is d, distance 480, over the rate, which is x plus 20. The time against the wind is distance 480 over x minus 20. This column is going to give us the sentence, but we go back to the problem and we see that the entire trip took 10 hours. So that means both with the wind and against, the sum was 10 hours. That means I'm going to put the 10 here to indicate that summing those up was 10 hours. And that's what's going to give me my equation that I'm going to solve. So my equation becomes 480 over x plus 20 plus 480 over x minus 20. That total is 10 hours, and I write it as 10 over 1. That will be the equation that I solve. Looking at the denominators, this x plus 20 is different than the x minus 20, so the lowest common denominator must have both of them. I'm now going to multiply both sides by x plus 20, x minus 20, x plus 20, x minus 20. And the piece that many times people ignore is the 10 also has to be multiplied by x plus 20, x minus 20. I am now multiplying in red by that lowest common denominator. The key is to cancel the denominator with the LCD. I get 480 parentheses x minus 20 plus the x minus 20 cancels. 480 times x plus 20 equals, and this is very important, the 10 is going to be multiplied by both the x plus 20 and the x minus 20. There in green is the equation that I'll have to continue and then eventually solve. Now I will get this ready by getting rid of parentheses, so I distribute the 480 through. 480x minus 9600 plus 480x plus 9600. And here I'm going to have to do two steps. I have the 10, but I'm going to FOIL this. This is difference of squares, so it's x squared minus 20 times 20, 400. So I need one extra step before I can get ready for the quadratic part. Combining like terms, these zero out, and I have 960x is, distributing the 10 through, 10x squared minus 4,000. The minute I see an x squared, a quadratic, I get everything equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract that 960x. So I'll get 0 is 10x squared minus 960x minus 4,000. I would not factor here because you can divide each term here by 10, which will make it an easier problem. Doing that, we get that 0 is x squared minus 96x minus 400. We are now ready to factor. This is fairly straightforward because of the 4 and 100. For 400, we get x minus 100, x plus 4. Working this out, we get x equals 100, or x is negative 4. And we can't have negative airspeed. So we just found that the airspeed of our plane was 100 miles per hour.